it's much more powerful to work on my own resonance, my own vibration, and let things attract to me. Like will be attracted to like. Every single time I tried to do a spell to manipulate someone else's behavior, I would get it, but it would be in the universe is such a trickster. It would come back so sideways and not at all what I meant.
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I'm your humble servant and seafood Taoist master, Sun Qing. And it's Christmas morning again. I get down to the tree and the universe has given me this incredible being to interact with, another shift of consciousness. Becca Dickens, an energy healer, a conscious explorer, and I'm just grateful to have her presence here today on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I do have that Christmas feeling morning, just waiting to see what magic will be there under the tree.
Right. I mean, if you refresh it every day and that's how you start and end your day, it's good to be you. Yeah, that's a great way to simulate an incredible experience. It's so simplistic, but so powerful when you view things childlike in your nature. Yes. And just accept everything at face value and throw away the complexity of being a grown-up. I think it's overrated, quite frankly. So why don't we start with a little bit of a backstory on how you and I got to this point right now?
Well, I used to be a very normal person, I suppose. Since I was a child, I always was sensitive to energies and knowing what people are thinking, being able to read people's energy very well. But most of my life, I was not interested or didn't feel safe to talk about that and just tried to block it out. A lot of my life, I was worked in corporate IT project manager. I had a fancy job, traveled all around the world, had some kind of midlife crisis awakening. Everything changed for me in 2013, and I went on an awakening journey and ended up as a regenerative farmer. That means I live on a farm that doesn't use any chemicals, no tilling, all natural. Wow. Our soil is magical. We grow vegetables and sell them at farmers markets. And I have 200 chickens and sell the eggs. And the chickens are just 200 wonderful souls that I share my life with, give them fresh pasture every single day. So they live outside and in the grass. Also, as part of my awakening journey, I eventually started doing energy healing sessions, I call them. I'm not trained in Reiki or any particular modality. It's just a thing that I'm able to do. I have sessions with people on the phone or over Zoom, read their energy. We have a conversation, and as we're talking, I just can move their energy. My favorite thing to do is punch through blockages or places where the river is clogged up with a lot of brush, and I just push it aside and let the water flow freely. And so I do those sessions with people, and I am an unusual person and live a very blessed and pure life because 80% of the food that I eat is local. Almost all of that very local. It comes from my own farm. So that means vegetables and eggs from right where I live. That's what I eat. And I don't watch any television, no movies. I'm not on any social media. I listen to podcasts as my only engagement with any media. And so this is a very pure, blessed life that I get to live this way. And I think it gives me a great deal of clarity and that I'm able to bring that to other people. One of the ways that I advertise my energy healing work is to appear on other people's podcasts. And so I just write to people and say often, I like your podcast. Could I be on your podcast? I'm a weird person. You should talk to me. And sometimes they say yes, and magical things happen. And then lately, as I've been doing more of them, sometimes somebody perhaps sees me on a podcast, reach out to me, and then someone hears me on the podcast, and maybe 100 people hear it, and only one of them resonates with what I say, but they book a session with me for an energy healing session. And it's the most magical thing, the people that come into my orbit in that way, and the same way that you have. And I know that the fact that I'm talking to you, it's a magical moment. It's like my whole life has been leading up to this moment. So you and I, since the moment we were born, we've been heading on a collision course towards each other, towards this moment. And wow, here we are.
Yeah. The simplicity, my dear friend, the simplicity, the power of that, the pulpability of it, and the truth. You know, I would step back a little bit if someone gives you an absolute truth, but I'd say the truth is your truth, and that's the only truth you need to be concerned with. And when you're able to resonate with that and feel that through incredible mastery, like Becca's mastery, or things that I share with the audience, this is how you're able to express and communicate that resonation that comes with, holding that state. And so it's so powerful. Everything you said is just so powerful. Excuse me, and you're literally using the framework of reality to share yourself with the universe, and people are picking up what you're putting down. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this energetics. It's funny because, I've been in this game of energy, frequency, vibration for over 30 years, teaching people Taoist internal alchemy practices. Yet I also know that, there's no one way up the mountain, as I just referred to just a few sentences ago about the absolute truth. In my opinion, there is none. Everyone has their own version of whatever that is, and the second the second you dismiss someone else's belief system, you dismiss your own. And so, incredible realization that you access this state of consciousness and this mastery of energetics, because literally that's all it is. It's like remembering who you are, and you remember who you remember very well who you are, and you're bringing that to this present moment and sharing it with the world. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And so what was the pinnacle moment of realization when you knew that you had this accessibility? Was it a feeling, a vision, an action, a moment in time? What was it?
Well, when I remember being a child, and people have always told me that I don't have a poker face, and I show whatever I'm thinking on my face. And they would tell me when I was a child, my mother would say, don't show everything on your face. Don't show that you don't like somebody on your face so much. And it was very confusing to me because I thought everyone was doing that, because when I'm talking to someone, I know how they really feel. And it was very confusing because often their words do not match what their aura is showing me. And so most of the time most people are masking all the time. And once in a while you can look in someone's eyes. And all my life, once in a while you look in someone's eyes and you can have a connection and feel, oh, I see you in there. That's the real you. And but so it was most of my life, because people get so upset when you know what they're really thinking and when you see behind the mask, that it was just an attempt to push that down. And I just thought, that's not acceptable. There isn't any space for that. It doesn't give me an easy life. So I was very isolated as a person, um, not a lot of close friends. Um, and it was just trying not to see that and just to protect myself. I became a really serious alcoholic for most of my life, just using alcohol to shut down my connection to source. It does it very handily. And unfortunately, I have since come to think that it does open a door when you do something addictive. Certainly, alcohol to me allowed something in that wasn't good for me and that deranged my life and deranged my mind. And so in 2013, through miracles or whatever, I was able to stop drinking. And slowly my gifts came back online. It's funny how things evolve all the time. Um, for a lot of my early awakening, I was very much trying to get in touch with my spirit guides. And I'm still, of course, there are lots of guides and lots of spirits around that help all of us and are available to all of us all the time. But looking back on it now, I see that I was looking just for another authority instead of my own inner authority. And I just wanted my spirit guides to come and tell me how to fix my life. And I get more and more peace as I um, just listen to my own inner voice. And so the moment when it was just a series of moments, I started to want to connect with people and talk about their energy. And I started to think I'm getting pretty healthy myself. I feel like my vibration is pretty high. I'm working on it a lot. I think I can help other people. There seems like there are very clear energy blockages that I could help them remove. But it's very rude if somebody comes up to me at the farmer's market and is trying to buy some kale from me, and I start talking to them about, the bad relationship that's blocking their something. And so I needed a container. And I just started saying to friends, a good friend, I told her, I think I might be an energy healer, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what that is, but I think that's what I am. And she's a good friend. And so she said, do it on me. Just do me. And I was, when somebody calls your bluff, it's always then you have to do it. And so I just closed my eyes and tuned in and felt some congestion in her chest. Felt like she was through sludgy water, and we just had a little conversation, and I just tried to clear up the waters a little bit. And once I thought I could do it. And so I just started offering it for free, set up a website where people could make appointments with me. I put a bunch of magic spells around the website. It's a good way to use technology where I, say nobody will even find this. I live in a very small town in central Illinois. It's not very woo here. I'm enough of a weirdo already trying to grow whole foods and eat them. And energy healing maybe is a bridge too far. So I didn't really want people to know about it unless they would benefit from it. So I put all of these spells and charms around my website and say, nobody will even find it if they wish me any harm. And nobody will book a session with me unless it will bring us both benefit. And one by one, people started to find me. And it's just grown, and it's just the perfect amount. I don't get so many bookings that I'm overwhelmed or exhausted, but I get enough to keep it going. And each one, of course, I'm not really healing anyone. Everyone is healing themselves. And I am as healed as each person that I talk to, at least as healed as they are, just from the conversation. One of my favorite things is to be near a person who is healing. And I mean, even if somebody who has a cold, we would say that person is sick. And I can see that their body is doing a magical thing of healing and getting rid of those toxins and removing those things that no longer serve them. As your nose runs, is what's running out is is bad thought forms and pent up gross energy. And so it's very exciting to be around people who are healing, and to be around people who are trying to heal themselves and working at it, is the secret to healing the world. I'm sure of it. No absolute truths, but
Yeah. So this is so exciting. So when you do the energy, do you have any sort of thing that you follow that makes it tangible to you, or you know, everything is instant, and so you've come to this realization that it's palpable, it's instant, you can access it. Do you sort of have any sort of some type of method, perhaps, like if you're connecting with someone, you're feeling things out? Is
yeah.
it just something present in your third eye, first eye? No person, pulpability? Do you use your hands? Do you feel it, or do you just transmit it?
Yeah, I think that my method is, people have to book a session with me. It's at least 24 hours ahead of time. So I always, when I wake up, I always meditate in the morning. And if I have a session that day or several that day, I just set a timer and meditate about the person, for just a short amount of time. And sometimes I really only have a name, and it's amazing what you can get from a name. I just close my eyes and think about their name and let images come to me, and I take notes. And sometimes I don't end up using the notes at all, and sometimes I use them a lot. So I just random things come to me. Oh, I see an owl. A phrase you said earlier. Remember who you are. That's a phrase that came to me one time to tell someone, remember who you are. Um, Tell this person something. And so I just write down what I say. And then when I get on the phone or Zoom with the people, before that, I do some, burn some sage and sit again in meditation, and just prepare myself to be there for another person. It's so wonderful, no matter what, if I have a headache or if I'm fretting about something in my personal life, when I just sit down ready to do a session, it all just goes away. And I have this grace to get to be present for another person, and not have to worry about myself for half an hour or an hour. And then they come on the phone, and as soon as they start talking, I start, um, I think we have more than the five senses. So I often say, I saw an owl. I will say that I didn't see it with my eyeballs, and I don't know what sense I saw it. I saw or I heard, because I don't have the verb for what I did, but I have other sense organs. I think my hair is an antenna. And so that's very important to me, not to cut it or mess with it very much. Um, but lots of other things. And so soon after I start talking to someone, I just feel something like something getting plugged in, like plugging into the wall, and I just plug into them, and then we just have a conversation. And sometimes it's very practical, just somebody kind of talking about their problems to a sympathetic ear. But as they're talking, I just feel things moving in my own body. And I kind of think our bodies are where we process emotions. And so once I've tapped into someone and feel that click, often the things I feel in my body I can mention, and it will correspond to their issue, especially if it's a physical issue. But everything physical is something emotional and spiritual as well. So it's a little bit different with every person. At the beginning, I was always afraid that I would have nothing to say and that they would just be a void. And I would just, I don't know, I got nothing. But it has never failed me. And just to really show up for another person, I hold space for another person and just like wish them well, is extremely powerful, that by itself. and I think very rare in this world for someone just to be able to sit and have someone just working for their good, um, wholly focused on their benefit and healing.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. Do you you said you cast some spells, so you use magic. Do you imprint things at all? Specifically, I mean, practically everything's imprinted, but I mean, like, the soil you use, the seeds, the food that you're ripping from your farm or whatever. Do you imprint it?
I don't nothing specific. It's funny that you say that. I just heard recently about you're supposed to soak seeds before you plant them, get them a little bit wet. And I've heard that you should put them in your mouth and soak them in your saliva before you plant it, and that plant that grows will be the medicine that you need. So I'm glad you said that. I very much want to try this of making some medicine for myself just out of some of my favorite vegetables by just holding the seeds in my mouth for half an hour before I plant them. Um, but yeah, I do magic all the time, though I am not trained and I don't know, I don't have very much specific, but a lot of setting protective boundaries around myself and
Mhm.
banishing what doesn't serve me. And the soil is here where I live on my farm is so magical and so amazing. I don't know if it called me here or if I feel that I'm, building the grids in the earth. I do feel there's energetic grids that I sometimes have a sense of maybe charging them up. So maybe like the Matrix, like I can see the grids running underneath the earth and I'm charging them, but
Mhm.
also I draw up energy from the earth and I'm walking in it, casting spells around my website and things like that. It is just setting intentions, blessing things, loving things, anything that I feel like that childlike sense about Christmas. Um, you should feel that way when you do something like mundane, like setting up
Yeah.
your website and the way that people will pay you, and I try to do that with the only when I'm having that
Yeah.
kind of giddiness that it's fun and
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah. No, I was wondering because I sometimes I like part of some of the skills that I train that I train people in, and just a developmental skill as part of the sensory perception is what we call it within Taoism, a larger blanket sort of thing. I teach people clairvoyance, mediumship, channeling, healing, all of the above, whatever. And it's like interesting when you use the magic, like Taoist magic is something that people love to gravitate to because it's so potent and so powerful, and it's been around for so long that you fall into the ritual, and you bear fruit from it. There's a palpable exchange where you're seeing a result from a ritual, a magic, casting magic, a spell, all these types of great things. And so I always ask people, what are their methods of creativity? Because I know that's just one way up the mountain. There's a million ways up the mountain. There is no right or wrong. There just is. And, just the palpability of the things that you speak of, I can sample them and they're righteous. They're crazy. They're awesome. And, a lot of my students, and just like how we're exchanging charges right now, you feel it through your body, you're feeling it through your what we call the Tai Chi pole, and I just see this stuff and then I feel it. And, just as you, with your own admission, you tap into your person and it's so incredible when you just open yourself up to the possibility that anything is possible. What can be derived from that understanding or just that childlike nature? So yeah, when I say imprinting, I always go, oh well, have you tried this? And like for dowsing, the dowsing is one of the things that we do, and you perhaps as a farmer, you probably do that yourself. I just do it energetically, so I can just find vortices anywhere. Like you've got two in that room that you're in right now. I can see them very clearly, and they're palpable. And then, moreover, I like to always do it's Harry Potter Magic Day, and I always say to someone, "Hey, do you have an object or a piece of fruit or something? Let's, with your eyes open, and print it, and then you can sample it yourself." And people are like, "Whoa, that's crazy." But just where you're sitting right now, on each side of you is a very large vortex that would
Oh,
probably be,
wonderful.
well, it's probably, if I had to be conservative, at least 2 feet in diameter. And that's crazy. And I mean, it's like, okay, I'll bring your attention to it, and you go, the thing that I love about these types of things is finding them, is that the second someone finds this and they go, "Oh, well, that was great. I had a conversation with San Qing, and he said there's a vortex, and I felt it, and it was really amazing." And you go away for a couple of days, and you come back to the same room, or you come back the next morning and your eyes are open, you're doing your thing, and then you put your hand in there and go, "Whoa, that's still there, it didn't go anywhere." And I mean, that's a shift of consciousness, you know what I mean? Yeah, which is always exciting. I mean, this is what we should be like, playful in this, and embrace it and enjoy it, because it's real. That's tangible. We would not be alive right now if we were not, very aware of the electromagnetic field that's running through our physicality, and then the frequencies that we're embodying in all different types of levels. Everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And if you want to create, you must hold that resonance. And then that's really where it comes down to. This is where your mastery and the way you're able to do that is really, it's like, oh, you've done this before, I think. And so realizing that, you'd fall into that resonance so easily, and most people can't hold it. It's and that's where they get a glimpse. They get a glimpse of it, and they really want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. And I love that you want it, and I want to help you get there to realize it. But that there's that point where, oh, wow. And so part of resonating has much to do with, what is the entropy level of this sort of experience? Is it a highly distorted or low distortion in relation to how you obtain that? And then when you hold that frequency, that could be a universal state, which, i.e., love, oneness, singular, collective, you hold it there, and you hold it, and then miracles take place, that people come to you and they're healed mentally, emotionally, physically. And that's the beautiful part. It's like, just be present, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I was very, as a young witch, I did try to do magic to make things, to manipulate reality in more selfish ways. I tried to do love spells, of course, every time I wanted someone to love me who didn't. And every single time they work. It's that kind of magic totally works. But it would always go so sideways. And it's much more powerful to work on my own resonance, my own vibration, and let things attract to me.
Mm.
Like will be attracted to like. Every single time I tried to do a spell to manipulate someone else's behavior, I would get it, but it would be in the universe is such a trickster. It would come back so sideways and not at all what I meant, and so misunderstood. But I don't think I was not ever in danger. I was just clumsy. And so I think the striving to do magic, certainly it can go into dark places, but it's a pure place, and it's something that's our birthright. Everyone should be able to raise their own vibration and to raise the vibration of things around them, and to live in harmony with the nature and objects around them. And when we're trying to manipulate reality using magic or any of these practices, it is an attempt to return to what we're born deserving and worthy of.
Yeah, I agree 1000%. Yeah, so that's always the fun part. Is playing with the energy, playing with the magic, enjoying it, being childlike, and embracing all of it, and being one with everything. There's nothing more magical than that, and it's a reflection of the experience that you're having at this present moment. Is what are you resonating with that is realized in your reality? Where you're going, what you're doing, and it's funny because when I imprint things, the simplicity of it, whatever it is, maybe it's a tincture, maybe it's something a little bit more, a glass of water. I can infuse it, and literally when you drink it, it will do whatever it is programmed to do. So, if someone has, as you just mentioned, a cold or whatever, and I infuse or imprint the water, I mean, it could be a lot easier just to infuse them, and that happens, but then it's not as exciting when you can infuse water and then have them drink it and go, oh, I had a sore throat. I had all this thing. I was congested, all this phlegm, and it disappeared after I consumed this water that just tasted like heaven on earth. That's far more exciting. But, it's part of the whole magic of it all. What are your thoughts on that?
How do you imprint? How would you imprint a glass of water?
Depends. You have an object with you right now, like a piece of fruit or vegetable or anything like that? Maybe something you grew from your garden?
Oh, yeah, I have this some sage here.
Okay. You got sage.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could use sage. What about like something you could grasp a little bit? I mean, you can grasp the weight. Do you have like
Oh, this is cool. We dug a pond to have a
okay.
pond to water the garden with, and this was some clay that was one
Okay.
layer of the pond, and then we let the clay harden into this beautiful little ball of
Okay.
clay.
All right. Okay. So
What's
here's the
that?
great one, right? So hold that in your hand. Now you feel the weight of that, right? And you feel the weight. Now put it down on the table in front of you or whatever. You put it down. Let me know when you've done it. Just
Okay.
leave it sit there. And now so you put it on the table. It's
Mhm.
out of your hands. All right. Whoop. Now pick it up and tell me what you experience.
It feels light and bouncy.
It changes the whole structure of it.
Yeah, it does. It's different. It's
And
wonderful.
if you measure the weight of it, it's completely different.
I think I could levitate it almost.
Right. 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 And if you look closer at it, all the symbols and imprinting will present itself as it sort of moves in and out like a shape shifting, morphing within the actual object itself.
Wonderful.
And so that is a frequency that would be equivalent to about a 960 hertz, more like a scalar frequency, a scalar wave,
Mhm.
which maybe you're familiar with or not. It's sort of like some kind of quantum terminology that goes beyond the electromagnetic frequencies that we're familiar with as you sort of go up the spectrum from what we can perceive within the light spectrum within this reality, what we can perceive with our eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And, it's sort of like you move it back and forth from one hand to the other because it's all about understanding that the structure of that is completely altered. It'll never be the same. And now you have this. It's like if you want to use the sage, use the sage. Pull the sage out, a piece of sage. Okay, there you go. Now you can put that on the table just so you can measure the weight. All right.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll just infuse it. And that's a completely different frequency altogether. Now pick that one up.
Yeah, that feels very sparkly, like sparks coming off of it. Very nice.
That's an 81 hertz frequency,
Huh.
which is sort of in the spectrum of a gamma brainwave. But it's just how what you do with it, right? And so, that is a very powerful frequency just for consciousness. So lighting that sage then changes the whole frequency of the space around you. You know,
Wow. Thank you.
yeah, it's an instantaneous thing. Once you access that state, everything becomes realized. You know, and there's nowhere you can't go to create or realize. Now your sensitivity could be multiplied even further because specifically from what I can see, this particular channel, you're probably familiar with the lung channel. I don't know how deep you go into Chinese medicine or anything of that nature, but the lung channel is a little bit stagnated. Now, what does that mean? It could mean anything as a snapshot of reality as you continue to tune yourself, whether you're turning into or out of whatever it is that you do, but it creates a sensitivity. Your energetic sensitivity could be 1,000-fold more than what you already exhibit right now. And that's just, and that may be layered in other things in relation to your own, you know, mastery in your own magic and how you frame out your reality, what you let in, what you don't let in, how you perceive things, what you feel. That's all relevant. And that's exhibited just in the charge that you just gave off right now from feeling that in your hands. And so, it varies. And I always go, you are me, I am you. If I need to protect myself from you, then I'm protecting myself from myself.
Yeah.
So there's a level of like realizing that, we're all one. And, I get a lot of people that turn up on my doorstep and they're from very much lineages and practices where it's steeped in boundary after boundary after boundary after boundary, which if they're even getting results and they're putting all these boundaries around them, once you relieve those, you go, holy moly, and look at what I'm capable of accessing right now. It's kind of like the same thing, Does that make any
Yeah.
sense? Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And how would you imprint something?
Well, I do with water a lot, just writing words on a piece of tape, writing whatever I want to infuse the water with. I just
Hmm.
write it on a little piece of blue painter's tape and tape it to the glass or the jar and let the water absorb it. Water picks up and remembers very much. Uh, I do a lot of kitchen magic because I have this garden and I love cooking. And so when I'm cooking for someone, it's very interesting to make a meal for somebody that that you don't have a great relationship with and that you want to have a better relationship with. It's hard to be an enemy with someone that you've broken bread with. But so when I'm cooking for someone, I think good thoughts about them. I think about how will these sweet potatoes delight this person? What would be the best way to prepare them so they'll be the most delightful? And the food that is made by, you could take the exact same food, macaroni and cheese from a box, made by someone who loves you and made by a stranger, will nourish you in completely different ways and taste completely different. And so sometimes when I'm making bread, especially, I make sourdough bread. I'm reminded when I grind the flour and my mill that I grind the wheat berries in, it makes a terrible racket and it kind of vibrates my heart. The sound is so loud and deep of those stones grinding that it shocks me and reminds me that I'm entering a magical realm of baking, of making bread. And I'm in this lineage of people who have made bread. It's this wonderful thing that I'll be able to do it from flour and water and salt can make this magical thing that can comfort people in times of famine and panic. And um, delight people in times of plenty. And so I just feel that and remind myself, oh, I'm doing magic now by cooking this. And I can infuse every step of making this bread. Making sourdough takes 3 days. So it's living in my kitchen with me and fermenting and feeding for 3 days. I spend a lot of time with the microbes that are alive. And so just everything I do, I try to, when I can be reminded that I have this ability to do magic, and that it's all around, and I am shocked into it and delighted. And if it feels fun, then I can do it. And uh, just makes your life sacred, makes mundane things just be sacred and amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's like whoever's making the food, where you go to a restaurant anywhere, if you don't want the chef to be in a bad mood, or you don't want someone not making your food without love, one of the things that we would do, part of me being ordained as a priest, is a certain thing that we do is take a bottle of alcohol. I don't care what it is. Generally, they use vodka, and you have to remove the alcohol from the vodka and put it into another bottle. And to test the validity of that for people that can see it and feel it, like yourself and myself, is one thing. But part of the validity of it is you have to drink the whole bottle of vodka afterwards within, a couple of, like within 60 seconds. So it's like consuming one of those bottles of vodka, and that is a determination of whether you succeeded or not. And so the tangibility of that is very, very powerful, removing that alcohol from the actual fluid that's within the vodka bottle. And it's all part of what we're talking about right now. Is putting intention, putting things into, removing stuff. All that stuff is very real. Very real. Whether you see it or you feel it, or you see it and feel it, or perhaps you see and feel nothing, but I can promise you it's happening, because it will have an effect on you. You may be sort of dulled to the feeling and seeing aspect, but it will transmute into the very state of you. So you will feel it on a physicality level that may represent itself from, something more 3D, like feeling wellness, feeling sick. These are feelings that have been transmuted from the very energetics on a much deeper level. So, on people's journeys for that realization, there's certain things that take place, and that's kind of like one of them is.
Yeah. I try to remember also that words are magic spells.
Mm,
Why it's called spelling. And if people realized how much power every word that they speak or type or think, the power of each word, we are literally casting spells with every word. And you can transform your entire life. Just think
mm,
about, I challenge myself to, I'm not going to speak any complaint for one whole day, and see how I feel without complaining about anything for one whole day. See how that can transform my life and my experience. Or I'm going to look for things that bring me joy and speak them every
mm.
hour. I'll find something and say out loud how delightful it is, and see how many more of those things the universe just shoves at me more and more and more. And
Yeah.
so I think we curse ourselves all the time.
Hmm.
Uh, Lots of people that I do energy healing for, they speak about their weakness. People, when they tell you about themselves, they will tell you about their weakness, and their unworthiness.
Mm.
And I try to tell people, just tell me something you love about yourself. Tell me something you love about your body. Say something that you love about your life. And it's very powerful. to be able to speak about that, because so much of what we say is a curse upon ourselves first, not to mention cursing everyone around us in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100%. This is so much fun today. A lot of fun. It's like while you're sitting there, if you take your hands and just sort of reach out to each side of you, right? You don't have to expand your arms, just sort of have them bent a little bit. Now sample the vortices on each side of you and tell yourself or tell the audience what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I feel I'm just seeing lots of yeah, I feel them like just like a pressure wave in the air, and I am seeing just a beautiful. It's kind of fiery, but not a bad fire, just like a white light, white fire, uh,
Mhm.
swirling. Uh, yeah, it kind of looks like a Milky Way, also just swirling lights, fire. Uh, Hear kind of a roaring sound. Um,
What are
yeah,
you feeling? What's the sensation? What does it feel like to you?
an uplift in my heart, just of excitement. I meditate in this spot and do energy healing sessions in this spot and do podcasts in this spot. And so, and my bed that I sleep in is on the other side of the wall, the headboard. And so this is a very potent spot in my home. And I'm glad that there are vortexes there.
Well, I'm pretty sure you probably created them, or they opened up for some reason that is of a higher, you know, it's of the highest frequency. It's like palpable. You could sit in those and really realize a bunch of stuff. Sort of like, have you ever seen the 7 Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it feels like when you sit in that. You'll start to go, oh, okay, this ain't going nowhere. And then you can craft it any way you want. But there's things that you've clearly generated, being the sacred space that you're in right now. So for whatever reason, they're symmetrical. It's not just one. There's two. Sometimes I find like dozens in people's homes, in weird places in front of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, in January, I still had a real job. I was called an online health coach.
Oh, I
And
don't know.
so for 5 years, I had worked that job, and it's really what allowed me to start our farm and build up this whole business. But I had mostly been replaced by AI in my job. And
Wow.
so I got laid off in January, and my impulse is to exit from the matrix with that layoff and to never have a job again, and to have my farm and have my energy healing business and just ride out whatever is coming. So without very much money already and then getting laid off, it seemed a weird time. But my partner Jared said, why don't we remodel that room, which was my office where I worked, did my online health coaching work 8 hours a day. Let's remodel that and make it an energy healing room. There was a big piece of furniture right here that we moved, opened up the space completely, changed the lighting, put down soft carpet. And so, yeah, since January, this room completely changed its vibe, and my life has changed. I feel like I'm set free from the last vestiges of trying to be in the corporate world and being entrapped in that matrix, enslaved
Wow.
as I was. And I've been set free, and the scales fall from my eyes as you all the programming that kept me, thinking you need a job and you need a 401k and you need health insurance, and just unentangling from all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I feel like the vortexes are. It's the portals to a new world.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, that's the juice that's coming out of those, and how bright the light is, and the resonation is like this high resonated gold frequency, man. Wild, transmuted at an even higher rate. Where, for Taoists, it's like platinum, gold, and silver, and they are all very representative of a you know celestial state of awareness, and it transmutes itself into that very healing that you're giving out. But it's interesting. So you were on the phone doing online life coaching, and now they just have an AI that someone doesn't even know is an AI going, "Hi, my name is Mary. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Well, how are you today?" And they put in the program of what a life coach is supposed to do into the AI, so that person doesn't know that they're not speaking to a human being, but
yeah.
it's AI.
Even
Wow.
more so, if everything that I typed in the last 5 years, it was a large company, so hundreds of thousands of users of this app. I'm sure you get the advertisements for it, most people. Um,
Really?
yeah, and so it rhymes
What?
with moon, so
Moon.
moon backwards. Anyway,
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
um, the people would just write in and say, mostly trying to lose weight, but all different kinds of health coaching. But they would say, how much water should I be drinking every day? And I would just get the next person in the queue. So whoever would ask the question, I didn't have a caseload. I would just answer the question. So I would type, trying to, I believe when the people who were matched with me, we were put together randomly. I tried to put a little magic into each person that I
Yeah.
replied to, but some of it is pretty formulaic. When people say, how much water should I drink in a day? I would give them similar answers. Every one of those answers, the machines were watching what I typed and learning. They've been being trained for years, the whole time that I've been working there. And yeah, so now they know, out of the hundreds of times I answered this kind of question, they know what I said, me and hundreds of other coaches. And so now they're able to, but I can't believe that it will have the same charge. I gave a little blessing to every person who was on the other side,
Mhm.
and receiving that message back. I don't know. Maybe it'll be okay. They'll get, they're making a connection with something, but um, something feels like it's lost. However, I'm very grateful to have had that job. It paid for me to get my farm started, and I'm very thankful to be free of it. And I
Yeah.
got laid off. Things conspired to make it at the perfect timing. I'm ready. I'm unafraid of poverty. I think I'm going to be fine. I don't think money is going to matter very much longer. It's not real anyway. It's all a game. Uh, we're all going to be okay, and we should all start doing creative weirdo jobs and forget about doing real jobs.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. It's very interesting. I spent many years helping people, but more thousands of people instead of millions. I got to a certain point where I was like, I need to open the gates. My teachers were telling me to, make what we're sharing, what this healing experience, accessible to millions. So that's when I sort of entered social media about 9 months ago, and kind of just got exposed to that, and I created an app that brings people to that very state, and so that millions of people have the ability to access this state of consciousness and heal. And that's generally what happens. It's not a it's not an app where you go around and, oh, look, I'm getting story time from some celebrity, or I've got a meditation that's guided, or no, that's not what this app is. using the ancient techniques, and it's a visual audible experience, and you receive a kinesthetic charge of realization, and it comes in a brainwave. I measure the brainwave, so you evoke through the experience, sound being so powerful, and then the visual component, this kinesthetic charge that goes into a brainwave state of complete consciousness. So high gamma hertz frequency. And so when people use this, the normal side effects are, excuse me, normal side effects are, I healed myself, I healed my animals, I healed my this, I healed my that. And that's just going through a mastery of being in a state of complete bliss and joy and happiness all the time. Because as one of my dear friends who's a Buddhist monk always says, it's the dukkha, it's the distortion that separates you. And the more you can realize the emotional content is not the truth, it's just a simulated version of what you're experiencing because you've chosen that, you've created that, you get to heal. And I think that's really, really the most important part. But when you're able to feel when you move an emotion out of the way and you stay in that state and you resonate it the way that Becca and I do, crazy things happen. But, I will say this, it should be something maybe we talk about, but you're looking for other opportunities to generate something within your own space. I have affiliate programs for exactly that, where you get a reoccurring income from people using the app through your experience. So that's something that just off the top of my head, I was like, maybe it aligns because it helps people stay there and they heal. And there's like 2 years worth of material. It's not I'm just going and listening to a meditation. No, this is a certifiable experience that after you finish the first experience one time, you can measure your result, which most people can't. They don't even know how to measure a result. It's like, I meditated for 30 minutes. What am I getting out of it? I'm kind of bored. And then I go off after meditating and I get into a fight with my neighbor because my dog pooped on their lawn, and they're telling me I'm going to call the animal shelter and da 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 da. And then I'm up into anger again. So this 30 minutes was a complete waste of my time. And that's sort of like part of the problem, I think, with a lot of the stuff that people are in with New Age spirituality, is they get into the stillness, but it's not practical for their reality. They take a break from their regular programming instead of making the break be the regular programming and everything else temporary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, that type of stuff is always the battle tested. So yeah, someone uses this thing, and literally that same day I give you an exercise. You can measure how fast you're adapting to that resonance instantly, which I think is critical to your whole experience in a spiritual journey, is validating it just the way they validate it with your experience. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not the same after leaving Becca. I'm emotionally just full. I don't have this nagging resistance from past trauma. I feel whole. I feel blissed out, and I'm staying that way because of what you expose them to, the resonance, the healing. And so, it's this ongoing journey. But yeah, I put it into this sort of like experience, and that's all resonation. There's no one can duplicate that experience. People are like, whoa, how does this work? Because, you can be John Smith, McDonald's worker, or you can be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. When you hit play on this thing, the first thing that happens is I feel like I had 5 pina coladas, a full body massage, and 5 days in the Bahamas. And they're like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not in a spiritual state. I'm not sitting in a lotus position. I'm not holding 3 incense. I'm not calling in my guides. I don't believe in universe or Buddha or Jesus or God or anything. What in Tao's name is going on here? And, that's kind of like when people are in the presence of Becca. It's like, who I'm not sure what it is. I'm really jiving and enjoying this experience of this being that's present. I've made a new friend. I'm sharing space with this person by the name of Becca, but I am high as a kite. I'm out, and it happens very quickly. This is a state that we're speaking of, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. So, you know, it in my opinion, the world cannot have enough Beckers that are experiencing this stuff and sharing it with the world. And I'm just really grateful that your guides or your intuition has sort of put you in that place where, hey, I get to really do this full time now, ride or die.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? And so do you sell your vegetables and stuff from your farm, or is it just primarily just the healing?
No, we sell vegetables from the farm. Have starting in right now, we just have one market at the farm per week, but we're going to be open 5 days a week once we get more vegetables to sell. It's still too cold in Illinois to grow much, but we have beets and carrots and lettuce and spinach and radishes all getting ready to harvest, and we'll start selling those in probably early May.
Have you ever are you considering anything online at all, or just locally?
Right now, locally, I feel I really want to build community,
Mm.
and I don't know what's going to happen with the world, but I it's not enough to prepare and just preserve food for myself. You really need to be resilient. You need the whole community. So I would like to have a lot of people around me growing food and who know how to grow food and who care about eating whole foods and eating this way. So I do a lot of education locally, and we're just trying to sell locally, and that's my focus for right now. I hope it'll take off
Yeah.
greater than it has. We've grown every year since we first started selling vegetables in 2018, and
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm just ready to go big.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Some of the prophets, channelers, predictors are definitely putting out a lot of interesting. I don't know what you would call it, but personally, my personal opinion, channeling myself, my own teachers, doing it for over 30 years, I always will mention from a personality perspective, be cautionary when someone leads with fear. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean, Shifu? Well, there's an underlining agenda that's taking place, and it may not even be conscious to the individual. They're just immersing themselves in what is apparently clear to them. And so there's a lot of fear mongering going on right now for the present future. And, you know, um, sure, I think people are going to get very disappointed. Uh, yes, I understand that on a face value, you can look at the financial system in the world, and it is corrupted beyond corrupt, and it is distorted beyond the dukkha that my dear friend Martin, the Buddhist monk, says. And it's clear they're insolvent. The banks are running on hot air, and there's a lot of all this financial dismay. But I also you know believe in this high resonance that you and I tap into, and that speaks very clear to me. There's no dukkha when I breathe that, when I embody that, and there's no place for a dukkha experience when you resonate with that stuff, in my opinion. And so a lot of people, you know, I listen to my teachers, and when necessary, I listen to them, and they always give me predictions. I'm not a big predictor guy, but it's not even a prediction, it's a knowing. They tell me what's going on from a week forward, a month forward, a year forward, whatever. And you take it with a grain of salt. But I also remember when they told me, someone by the name of Donald J. Trump was going to be the president. I was like, oh. I was like, yeah, okay. I'm going to keep that one all inside to myself. I'm not going to share that with the world. And so I shared it with, friends and family, and they're all like, okay, well, I think you've come to the pinnacle of your career, and you're now, we just need to lock you down with a key and whatnot. And I think you're done. I think whatever you thought you were tapping into was clearly distorted. It's a dukkha experience. And they were beyond shocked when that revelation was realized. So I'm going to go with what they're sharing with me, and unfortunately, it's a pin in the bubble of the fear-mongered stuff. And it there's possibility. There's always a possibility of anything, the probability, but there's no question in my mind looking at where the financial system is in the world. It's deficient and it's flawed, and it's operating on illusion. And so sure, there's some turning point. What is the turning point? When is the turning point where we move from one form of energy to another? Or maybe not. We're being told what we're supposed to expect, which is always a cautionary sort of red flag, in my opinion, when we're being told all these things are happening. And you can look at it from a little small face value. Or my teacher Latsu always goes, "It's so funny. Humans are so interesting." And I'm like, okay, weren't you a human at one point? I mean, you are talking to me from a higher state of consciousness, but you were, because let me just water it down for you. Imagine you are a human. You imagine you're a grain of salt asking the beach, what are you doing today? And I went, whoa, wow, that's why you're Latsu. And he goes, just fall back into the beach and realize everything right now. And I'm like, oh, whew, man, that's mind blowing just hearing that. And there's so much depth to it. And I'm pretty sure you have your own insight into information and how you acquire it. It's incredible the level of development that you have in relation to understanding people's lower frequencies, their expression, whether it's a physicality or emotional blockage energetically and also physically, and how you sort of tap into that that wave, that part of their aura that you can sample. That's really sophisticated stuff that you've remembered from whatever you're doing in the past. And that's what I base everything on, remembering what I already know. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. It's all about remembering. And if I prognosticate what I think is going to happen, well, it could be wonderful. And if some system falls apart, like the monetary system, what if it did? It all came crashing down, and then we found that we were fine without it, that humans were fine. That is their greatest fear of those who would keep us enslaved, is that we'll realize we don't need it at all. And
Mm,
all in that it's
mm,
an illusion, and the structures in place to maintain the illusion have to be so strong, because it's so ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as Donald Trump being president. Yeah, who would have thought?
uh,
Of course, the universe has a sense of humor, and
I think you're going to get another dose of humor. You probably don't want me to tell you what's going to happen in November, but anyway, you're probably going to get another. I think the universe is really funny at this point.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm at this point. I'm not dismissing it, but it sounds like it's going to be another joke, a jokey joke, and perhaps maybe I don't know. Um, with that, who knows what that turns out, what that turns up with that realization. Um,
I try to tell people to just know that you have what you need to face whatever moment is coming next. We can meet each moment as it comes, and a meteor could hit my farm, and I could be standing on the road with nothing, and I believe I would have what I need to move forward into the next moment. And I think if you can just work on uh, finding in yourself the things that you need to survive and to keep going and to keep finding joy in life, um, we are all ready. We are ready because we're here, and anybody listening to this is prepared and ready to hear that message of hope, and just move forward. You have what you need.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful, simplistic, but to the point and realized. Very, very powerful, my friend. So, I guess in closing, I'm going to ask you, what is your definition of consciousness?
I Consciousness is life. Consciousness precedes matter and physicality and everything. Consciousness comes first. Consciousness is all of this life came from consciousness. That was the prime mover. Um, that is the vast well of possibility behind everything. Freedom.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. There's never heard an answer that's more to the point right now, and that really is it. Oneness. It's I don't even have words. I'm just very grateful. And what I'm going to do is put a line of communication for others to find you. Um, I know I have your email. Do you have a website or anything else?
Yes, it is regenerativelifarm.com. That is my website for the farm, but also has a page to book energy healing sessions with me. Just like it sounds, regenerativelifarm.com. It's
I
all
love
on
it.
there.
And I'm going to put that under the podcast also. Maybe you need to start up social media, or maybe not.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe. So again, it's been a real pleasure spending time with you today, and I really want to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with us on the podcast.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's always delightful to share another viewpoint of consciousness, what that means to others. And people always walk away from these conversations with an insight into something that you said, I said, just the group collective, and they have an epiphany, however that is translated. That's the whole reason why I do these things. It's really important to raise that conscious collective with that very understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Becca, and I'm very grateful. I want to thank the universe for bringing an incredible being into my life and creating a new friendship. And I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Qing. And I will see you on the next one, guys.